Hello, thank you for tuning in to Joystick Frequency. It's a video game podcast that doubles as a video game book club where you're just a member just by listening in. I'm your host, Trent. Joining me are my two co-hosts, Walker
Hello, I'm dying.
and Brady.
Hello, I'm also dying, but slower.
Last time we talked about Slime Rancher 2, Gotham Knights, and Deathloop, as well as our Game of the Year predictions, which we'll cover later in this episode. I'm just going to lay down like a brief little layout for you today. We're going to start with some trailers that we found interesting in the Game Awards, go over a couple of the awards that were given out. Then we're going to talk about some Pokemon Scarlet Violet, and then I think the thing that we've all been most excited about, we're going to go over our top 10 games of that came out this year. And we each have our own list, and we're going to basically decide how to combine them into one. With that laid out, normally I would go into y'all's months, but since most of the games we've been playing are going to be on those top 10 lists, I think we are just going to go in and start with the Game Award trailers.
Yeah, so Trent, of all the trailers you saw in the Game Awards, which one are you most looking forward to playing? Which trailers excited you the most?
Honestly, I think the one that excited me the most came from like a brand new IP that I'm not sure what they made before this or anything like that, but Banishers, they gave out this trailer where this guy is just in this weird hut with two ladies and they're going back and forth talking. And then the more you get into it, the more you realize two ladies aren't talking to each other, and that's because one of the ladies is his dead wife, which is a ghost. And they showed off some of the gameplay to it. It looks really fun. I'm very excited for this Banishers game. I think it could be like a pretty good hit next year.
Do you want to hear the crazy thing about that game?
What?
So you mentioned you don't know which studio it's from. It's from Don't Nod. It's the people who did Life is Strange, which this is such a bizarre change of direction from that, but I'm so excited to see what happens.
That is crazy. I haven't finished Life is Strange. I've only played the first chapter, and I've already got several questions going off in my head about it. How you go from that game to this one, but we'll see. I hope they're able to pull it off. It looked pretty good.
Brady, you take your turn now. What about you?
I think the game I'm most looking forward to might be Warhammer 40k Space Marine.
I should have pegged you for a Warhammer fan.
I am a Warhammer fan. I have played all of the Total War Warhammer games. That is Warhammer Fantasy, though. This is Warhammer 40k, which is more science fiction setting than Warhammer Fantasy. Set in the year 40,000. Space Marine follows the adventure of an Ultramarines captain named Titus, who goes onto a planet and just fucks shit up with his big fuck-off gun and his chainsaw sword. And it's not much more complicated than that, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Actually, I think it is a little more complicated with that, because after I saw this trailer, I went and just talked with a couple of my friends, one of them being Moses, who has actually played the Warhammer series. And he goes into, what is the anatomy like for these soldiers? He said something, they have 5 hearts and 17 lungs or some stupid number like that.
That is just blatantly false. They only have 2 hearts. And they do have genetically enhanced lungs. Every Space Marine is a superhuman, genetically altered soldier that was kidnapped as a child and forced to undergo extremely invasive and painful and usually lethal medical procedures to make them into a super soldier. They get a lot of extra organs. They get what they call the black carapace, which is an underskin plating, plastic metallic plating underneath their skin that lets them literally plug their suits of power armor into their bodies. It is a very dark setting, but Space Marines are cool as shit, and they're all 10 feet tall.
This is buck wild to me.
Yo, this is the tame shit in Warhammer 40k, by the way.
Walker, of the trailers that you saw, which one caught your eye the most?
So there were 2 that caught my eye kind of equally, but I'll start with the one that I did not expect whatsoever. I know we kind of said we weren't going to talk about this too much because it's not coming out next year, but I did want to just say Celeste is one of my favorite games of all time, and the fact that they're creating this new game Earthblade, which has a similar like art style and it looks like gameplay style, but this massive, almost like dungeon crawlery version of this game looks so cool. I'm so hyped for Earthblade now. But the one that we did know was coming because our friends over at Respawn were like, oh yeah, on Twitter, watch the Game Awards, guys, wink wink, nudge nudge. Star Wars Jedi Survivor got a new trailer, and I am so excited to see our boy Cal back in action. He's got this fancy new cut with his short beard and a little his BD friend. I'm so excited to be back in that world again. The Fallen Order was just so good.
I really need to go through and play Fallen Order sometime this year before that comes out, because I feel like I missed the initial hype of it. I don't remember what was going on during the time that it came out, but I definitely need to go through and play Fallen Order. I may not be a huge fan of Star Wars anymore, but the gameplay I've seen of that has just been awesome already.
It's a little Souls-like.
Yeah.
It feels like that game would be right up your alley.
It is really up your alley. I'm really surprised you haven't played yet, but yeah, it's fantastic.
We had some other standouts like Host Trauma. It's the next game made by the same people that did Inside and Limbo. It looks pretty interesting. We had a Hades 2 trailer, which I know Walker and his partner have been playing Hades 1. I've only played 2 runs of it, but I'm already addicted to it, and I'm waiting until I get a new controller to actually start playing it again.
Yeah, this should come as a surprise to no one. Hades is a good game. I just missed it initially because the top-down isn't really my go-to gameplay style, but this has just it's been so much fun. We saw the initial Hades 2 trailer, and the art and everything really caught our attention, and the next day my partner had bought the game and had it downloaded and was like roaring to play it, which, as a person who isn't a big fan of games that are like centered around dying and like growing from that and like keep dying over and over again. Yeah, I was very shocked that she was so into it, and she's been loving it since. So,
what else did we get?
We also got the trailer for Final Fantasy 16, which I am personally very excited for. I have loved all the recent Final Fantasy games. 15 was not the most critically acclaimed Final Fantasy, but I had a blast with it. 14 was very different, but also great. Final Fantasy 7 Remake was excellent. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're doing with 16, especially with the return to a more classic fantasy setting, as opposed to some of the more sci-fi modern-day settings of recent Final Fantasy games.
Looked like I noticed that Horizon Forbidden West also got a DLC announcement, which was very cool. Then I learned that it's going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive DLC, and that broke my heart. But Horizon Forbidden West was already a fantastic game. A little bit of a spoiler alert, but we'll probably be talking about it a little bit later on. But
yeah,
we will. Yeah, it was very, very good. So any opportunity to jump back into that world will be a grand time.
Well, the good thing about it being on PlayStation 5 is there's another game that you're pretty excited for that's also coming out, but it's only going to be on PlayStation 5, so it might be a little bit of double incentive for you to make that jump.
What game are you referring to? I'm very curious.
Viewfinder.
Oh, is that... oh, no, is that PlayStation 5 exclusive?
It is.
Oh, God. Okay, well, yeah, I guess we're going to have to figure out a way to bite the bullet on that one, but yes, absolutely. Viewfinder looks incredible. It's very much in the style of Superliminal, kind of affecting reality with different like optical illusions. Super cool. I love the aesthetic, and the kind of weird puzzly gameplay seems super fun.
Then we also had a Remnant 2 announcement. That's a sequel to Remnant Rise from the Ashes, which I had a group that I went through and played that game, the original, and it was a lot of fun. We had a very nice semi-trailer / send-off for the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game by Rocksteady, and they basically used it to confirm that Kevin Conroy had completed his role in it, and this will, in fact, be the last Kevin Conroy game. And it's sad to lose Batman, but at least we get to go out with one more game with him as Batman.
Yeah, after playing Gotham Knights, I'm ready for a DC game by Rocksteady again, and this seems like a great way to refresh my palette. Among Us?
Among Us.
Yeah.
We have actually been playing Among Us with a personalized set of rules for a hide and seek mode for a while. So the fact that Among Us is actually now getting a hide and seek mode with pretty much all the rules we implemented plus a couple other extra features, little like different cones of vision and that kind of thing. Very, very happy to see that community, like they're listening to the community and actually implementing cool stuff like this new game mode to keep the game fresh.
Other than that, the only other one that I found a lot of interest in was the Judas game, which seems like it's going to be kind of a Bioshocky game, which I loved all the Bioshock, so that's going to be right up my alley. As well as, we didn't hear anything about it, but the last thing I heard about Bioshock is there's supposed to be like a Bioshock reboot or something that might be coming out this year as well, so it'd be kind of interesting to compare and contrast those two games.
And I think that was pretty much it from the trailers and stuff. There was a lot there. There was tons that we didn't go into. That was like what caught our eyes in particular.
As far as the awards, which ones do y'all find important that y'all want to kind of know about? I have them all written down so I can go through.
I think Game of the Year we need to talk about.
So the Game of the Year was Elden Ring, and some stupid kid got on the stage, like followed Miyazaki and his group up on the stage and said some stupid stuff on it afterwards, but we're not even going to go into that.
Absolutely buck wild that was able to even happen in the first place, but it is what it is. I'm glad no one got hurt in the process. That's the big thing.
Other than Game of the Year, Stray robbed Best Indie from Tunic.
Absolutely it did. Tunic got shafted, which I was so sad to hear.
Best Action Adventure was God of War Ragnarok, and God of War Ragnarok won a lot of the categories it was in, just in general.
They also got Best Narrative, didn't they?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Having played through the narrative, I think it absolutely earned it.
It got Best Audio.
Spoilers, we will be talking about God of War Ragnarok later.
Best Score, Accessibility. Oh, and Best Voice Performance in a game was Christopher Judge, again, for his portrayal as Kratos, which was actually given by Al Pacino, which I thought was kind of cool.
Fucking Al Pacino showed up at the Game Awards?
Yeah, Al Pacino gave the award to Christopher Judge for Best Performance.
Magnificent, honestly.
Good.
Let's see, anything else?
Those are the big ones, I think. I think it was very, very cool that I think they saw that Elden Ring was going to get Game of the Year, and they're like, alright, we need to at least give God of War a decent chunk of stuff, because I've also started playing God of War Ragnarok, and it is, so far, very, very good.
Zelda Tears of the Kingdom did get most anticipated.
Rightfully so, yes.
That is fair.
And the only other one I care about, because I went to this event, was the best esport event of the year was League of Legends Worlds, and I actually got to go this year, so that was really fucking cool.
Super fun.
Like, it's so cool to have something you attended be an award winner.
Was there anything else at the Game Awards that y'all want to talk about real quick before we move on to some other fun stuff?
Nope.
I don't believe so, other than the fact that there were a lot of games that were nominated that I hadn't played that I probably will try to go back and play at least a couple of them this year.
Any in particular jump out to you?
Immortality, actually. I listened to another podcast about video games, and whenever they went over Immortality, I found interest in it, but I just never got around to playing it. So the way that it works is basically you're watching these clips, and you gotta click on certain things in clips, and then it'll take you to another clip that involves like object or something about that object. So for instance, let's say if it's a black and white movie and you see like a pool of chocolate syrup or something, you click it and it will take you to like where there's a pool of blood in another clip in color or something like that.
Looks very, very cool. Sorry, I just want to jump in on Immortality real quick, because the concept is really, really cool, and I've seen a couple videos kind of talking about some of the stuff that happens in the game. Have y'all played any of the games like, I think it's Her Story or Telling Lies?
No.
I have not.
No, but I've heard good things about them all.
Very, very similar in concept. Basically, it's like you're searching through a database with different like recordings of different events that went on over a period of time. My partner Emma and I were playing through Telling Lies fairly recently. Incredibly interesting. If you like deep diving into stuff or like picking up on certain phrases or keywords and diving into it, it's just unveil this like cobweb of crazy conspiracies and other events happening, just going all the way down, and it is a bizarre but a very good time. And it looked like Immortality was very much in that same vein.
Pokemon?
So, I guess we go into well, I don't know if this is actually going to be the meat of the podcast or not, depending on how well the conversation goes for the top 10. But I guess let's talk about Pokemon Scarlet Violet.
Ooh, and is there a lot to talk about in Scarlet and Violet?
Holy cow, yes. I think we should talk story first, so we get any plot and potential spoilers out of the way and don't have to tiptoe around them while we talk about other things.
Well, do we want to do general thoughts just at the very top of the, like, going into it? What would y'all think? Or would you feel more comfortable doing something like the story stuff first?
I can give a general thought about it, but I'd feel more comfortable getting spoilers out of the way so I can gush appropriately about plot stuff. But
Cool,
whatever y'all want to do.
Fuck it, yeah.
Opening thoughts about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I think I speak for everyone when I say it's fantastic and we all loved it. We all have positive thoughts.
Overall positive thoughts, yes.
Very positive thoughts.
Yeah. I think it's probably one of the best entries in the series for a couple generations, in my opinion.
It is, for the mainline games, it is one of the best I've played in a while. They've made a lot of really good iterations on the core concept. I've had so much fun running around and exploring the game. It feels so good to play.
Yes, the open world change, I think, was very positive. And,
Exactly
and
what
helped
the
the series
franchise
quite
needed.
a bit. So let's hop into the plot, because unlike a lot of Pokemon games, this one actually has a plot. It has more than one plot.
Yep, so this is going to be the official spoiler warning for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, so if you're not looking to listen to it, probably skip ahead a few minutes or come back after you play the game.
Probably do that one, I would say.
All right, wow, you spent a lot of time playing that game, but welcome back. Let's talk plot. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is split into 3 separate storylines. There is the Gym Leader storyline, which is the classic beat 8 gyms, and then the Pokemon League, and then the champion that you get in every Pokemon game. You have the Team Star plotline, which is the plot line about it's the Team Rocket, it's the Team Aqua and Magma, it's Team Plasma, it's the villain, quote-unquote, organization that you have to take down. And then the third plot is kind of new for Pokemon games, which is the Titans.
Yeah.
Is that it? Yeah. The Titan storyline, where you go fight bosses, for lack of a better word, around the world, and get
I'm sorry.
some really cool story stuff.
You mislabeled it. It's definitely the heal
The Arven.
The
Yeah.
heal your child line.
Yes. The emotional trauma storyline. That's right.
I think let's start with the top. Let's go from the kind of what we expect to see in a Pokemon game with the League storyline. What did y'all think of the typical Victory Road path this time around? Any thoughts on gym leaders or the overarching story there?
So with the fact that it's an open world game, this is the first one that actually allows you to challenge the gyms in any order you want. However, they don't scale to you, so you can either challenge a gym 30 levels higher than something, or you can go into a gym and be like, oh, that's a 20 level jump. I'm not ready for this. And I thought that was really good. Like, it's really good addition to the open world concept because it just increases your exploration more.
Yeah, I enjoyed not knowing how well I was matched up against the gym, because as I've gone through Pokemon games, the standard formula has become a little bit predictable, or I can kind of tell how I'm going to match up. With this one, it was a lot more, because they don't give you clear indication of what kind of level you're going to be, and what kind of level Pokemon you're facing at the gym. There was a lot more surprise and mystery going into the battles that kind of brought back some nostalgia from when I was playing as a kid and it was too dumb to realize how hard a gym challenge would be, which was just a blast to get my ass whooped a couple times because I challenged something too early. It's been a long time since I've lost a Pokemon battle in a Pokemon game.
I feel that. I really, really enjoyed how diverse the cast of gym leaders was. You got everyone ranging from the tortured artist to just a rad snowboarder to a baker who loves bug Pokemon. I thought it was very, very sweet. I really enjoyed all the different character designs that they had to offer there.
Character design was off the chart.
Off the chart.
Larry
Larry
is the goat.
Stop. Before we go into that, who is your favorite gym leader? Larry doesn't count.
Why doesn't Larry count?
Because he's better than a gym
stop
leader.
Larry.
Because he's better than a gym leader.
But he is a gym leader, and he is my favorite.
Yeah. But he's...
Okay. My second favorite gym leader is also Larry. But my third favorite gym leader is... crap. What's the name?
You can give us
What's
type,
the
you
type?
can give us anything, we'll help.
The electric type lady.
Yeah.
With
I
the
like
streamer
Iono.
girl. Iono.
I fucking
was
love
great.
Iono.
She was really fun in game.
Yeah, as soon as they showed the trailer for Iono on Pokemon, I was already like, all right, I love this gym leader. I love I just love the whole thing about her. She's and how stingy she is to try and just up her numbers is
Yes,
fucking hilarious.
that was great. That was great.
Her getting the donation in the middle of the right before the battle starts was really funny.
It really reminded me of how I'll be playing a game with friends and forget I'm streaming, and then all of a sudden I hear the notification and just be like, oh, thank you for the blanked mutts. And I'm like, wait, this is what I sound like.
Yep. Exactly.
But Iono was super great. Were there any that you didn't like or didn't leave any impressions on you?
Honestly, the snowboarder, Gresha,
I thought Gresha was cool. I think their whole introduction was super fun.
Yeah, I thought he was okay. All the other ones I felt like you heard something about up until you got to them, or their personality actually was enough to catch your attention for it. I will also say maybe Tulip though, because now that I think about it, Tulip didn't really leave an impression on me either. So I think Gresha and Tulip were probably the two weaker ones.
You said Gresha, and then you said he. I was under the impression that Gresha was a girl.
Oh,
Am
no.
I just out of my mind?
Welcome to the party, dude. Gresha's a guy.
Oh, okay.
He cute, but he a guy.
Okay. My least favorite was the rapper lady.
See, I liked her because
No,
I
she
liked
was
her
fun.
because the first time you hear about her is whenever you hear about how one of the teachers used to be a gym leader, and it turns out her sister took over.
Yes. I liked her setup in the story, but actually talking to her, it was hard to focus on the battle because I was cringing quite a bit.
Yeah. Then again, it is a Pokemon game. They can't really...
It is a Pokemon game. You do need some cringe.
But there was the dancing Greavard in the back. That saved it for me. The Greavard just jamming in the background during the fight.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Can we talk about Nimona?
Actually, while we're still on the gyms, I actually wanted to go into the fact, what was y'all's opinion on the fact that there weren't actual gyms in this one? Instead, they gave you these small challenges or tasks to go do instead. Kind of a callback to Sun and Moon, but not quite what Sun and Moon was.
I'm of two minds about it. There is something about the puzzles that were in the original gym buildings themselves back in the older games, but I think in most cases the little gym challenge beforehand was pretty fun. Certain ones, like the Psychic Gym one, I think just were not handled well, but overall, hunting down the Sunflora was fun, kicking the little olive ball around was fun. I overall had a good time with them.
I love that, my favorite one was pretty much, here's $50K, go grocery shopping for me, pretty much. Try and buy it as cheap as you can.
I'm of the one where you got to go haggle at the market. I am of a similar mind to Walker, where overall I do like the new gym challenges. I will say I did miss a little bit gym trainers, just because I felt like this game was a little light on trainer battles. Not necessarily because there were not a ton of them, but they were just kind of underwhelming when you got to them. So I could have used a few more trainer battles with more than one Pokemon that you normally get in a gym.
Yeah, I feel like they went pretty easy on the battles in this game.
Yeah.
In this game,
Overall, I liked them.
yeah, other
but
than the like leaders or main characters, they seem to be pretty on par. But all the other trainers, I think I found one that had 4 Pokemon, and I think that's the most I've seen of a trainer.
Yeah, it was kind of underwhelming to a point where past like 3 or 4 different areas, I just completely stopped battling trainers because it was such a slowdown compared to everything else. Which I don't think is so much a fault of like the game or the trainers, but I just wasn't enticed to do the challenges themselves. I will say one thing that did make me want to do some more of the trainer battles was the rewards that you get at some of the Pokemon centers nearby in the areas.
that's the only reason I did it was for the TMs. That's how you get the Earthquake TM.
Only way to get Earthquake, baby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was. It's only way to get Earthquake and only way to get I think the Amulet coin is through one of those
the
guys.
loaded dice. Like
there's a couple of
items thrown in there.
There's a few exclusives in that you have to unlock, but I just wish they had more than one Pokemon per trainer.
Yeah, I feel like that was. I wish either they would have more than one Pokemon, or that there was at least a couple of trainers that weren't optional, or like would catch you in their sight and go, okay, I'm going to be aggressive towards you, and I've got more like pokes on my team, or something along those lines.
Even like rebattling trainers would be cool.
Yeah, I used to love like the Pokenav and stuff like that back in the old games that would let you rebattle, but it feels like they've kind of abandoned that general idea, which
they leaned heavy into wild battles more than
Yeah.
trainer battles in this generation. And that's a general through line, which I don't think is necessarily bad. It's just
No,
something that I
think
did
it
miss a
works
little
well
bit.
for the open world aspect that they're going for. Like you're
Yes,
going out into
very
the
much
wild
so.
and exploring, so you're gonna run into more wild Pokemon rather than trainers. So yeah, I guess you wanted to talk about Nimona, Brady.
Nimona, best girl, the best rival since. It's been a while since we had a rival that was as interesting as Nimona, in my opinion. It was so great that she wasn't like set up as an equal, right? Because it
I
always
think
felt
that, yes,
underwhelming
that was
to
a very
me.
interesting approach to it. And I think it worked well for her.
After May, or maybe Barry in Gen 4, whenever they set someone up as an equal, but then like they weren't a challenge when you battled them, it just felt kind of hollow as a rival. And there were a couple battles with Nimona that felt kind of easy, but it was the way they framed it was that she was going easy on you intentionally.
Yeah.
So it felt less like, it felt more, what is the word I'm looking for?
I mean, it was intentional. It was exactly like you said.
It was not unsatisfying to beat her, even when it was easy, like it was fighting allegedly equal rivals.
Right.
The whole point is, whenever she got that starter, she was pretty much like starting over, saying, "All right, since you're going to be my rival, I'll start over as well, so that I'm kind of nerfed. That way, I don't get to throw all these Megamons that got me the champion rank at you."
Which I did very much like. I think that was super, super cool. I would argue that she is not the most at least from my point of view, like she's not the most interesting rival that we've had in a while.
She's kind of one note. I'll say that for sure.
She's a little one note, but
that one note is a note that I like.
Yandere,
yes,
which is why I like.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think overall pretty fun.
You know what she is?
Wait, what is she?
She is the player in every other Pokemon game where all you want to do is battle. You don't really give a shit about anything else. Sometimes you play with easier Pokemon because everything's way too easy on its own. It just felt very familiar to me, as like I've been in that position. I just shut up and battle me, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. That's my piece. I'm done.
No, that's great. I love that. I want to kind of like open this up right now. I do have a couple of gripes about the game overall, but I think it only boils down to a couple of major points. And the one that I think is pertinent to this discussion right now is I really think level scaling would have worked so well in this game. I think it would have made it such a more interesting experience. It would have made battles like Nomona's final battle or the different gyms actually feel in some instances where you're not getting like let down by the recommended level that the game actually has plotted out for you, but you could go in with whatever level your team is and just be decently challenged, like fairly challenged along the way. I think it would have worked really well, and it's kind of a shame that we did not see it in this instance.
To play devil's advocate,
Yeah,
I agree. I think level scaling would have been phenomenal in this game. Would have made things a lot more challenging. I understand why they didn't. Just from a production standpoint, like trying to balance battles and then balance them again as they're being scaled. Maybe not so much for like late game and Elite Four, and that would have been easier to scale. But stuff like the first couple of gym battles, trying to scale them up, you're gonna have to evolve Pokemon and change movesets, and like maybe change abilities if they evolve and get new abilities. I think it would have been like doing level scaling in this game would have made it a better game 100%. I understand why they didn't include it though.
And I completely agree with you there. I do get that they're on such a tight schedule to get these games out, but I feel like it would have greatly...
Maybe now that they've kind of figured out the open world formula, their next game they'll have a little more practice and we'll be able to,
that would be
to
so
put in
cool.
some level scaling.
That's what I'm holding out for.
So before we finish out with that plot line, we should probably go over the Elite Four as well. What are your thoughts on the Elite Four?
Oh,
Fucking
the Elite
Larry
Four was
coming
fantastic.
back. Hell yeah.
One at a time, please.
Elite Four was great.
Just fantastic. It was good. I really think the Elite Four was handled incredibly well this generation. Love Rika. I think she's one of my new favorite characters of all time. She's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Larry fucking kicks ass. Don't remember. I feel so bad because there's so many aspects of this game that I don't remember names of. The little girl was
Poppy.
so funny. Loved her.
I love the fact that like Rika's in a suit, obviously Larry's in a suit, and it's Hanson, right?
I think so.
Sounds
The
like
art
that.
guy.
Yeah, the art guy. He's like not in a suit, but he's like in his formal school wear, all because the champion is like super strict and like one of those people that's like, oh, I'm the leader of this, I'm the leader of this, I'm the chairwoman of this, and I'm also this. Like, it's just one of those super outgoing people that's trying to like do all these things at once and keeps like runs a tight schedule the entire time. At the beginning of it, they're like, well, now you get to go battle her, and she's the one that strong-armed all of us into being the Elite Four, and I'm like, oh shit.
What'd y'all think of Gita?
I liked, so kind of to circle back to the Elite Four, I liked that we got introduced to them and like got to know them before we battled them. I really enjoyed their integration into some of the gym battles that you saw where like you met their characters and it wasn't just, oh, this is Bruno, he's the best fighting guy and you're meeting him now. And you get one line of dialogue and that's all he gets. So I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed that for Gita, where you got to meet her and figure out that she's this type A. Busybody's kind of a mean word, but she's a busybody.
Very on, like, to the book, on the schedule, got
Yes.
everything blocked
Yes.
out for the next 40 weeks.
Lots of characterization. I would not ever want to get a beer with her, but I enjoyed playing with her character. I don't like her character, but I like her character.
I feel, yeah, I definitely feel like she was playing into the, stretched thin on every degree. It feels like Paldea as a whole is very understaffed. Like, there's not enough people.
Yeah.
Larry works 2 jobs, damn it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's very much reflected in the champion overall. I thought her team was really cool.
As far as the battle, my one gripe about the team, your ace is a setup mon. Please just let her throw it out first.
I don't know that Glamora is a setup mon exclusively, Because that special attack stat is fucking nasty, and it can absolutely be a sweeper. But I do agree that it should not have come out last, if only because King Gambit, his ability is that the more Pokemon on its team that are dead, the stronger its attack gets? Or one of its moves gets or something?
Yeah.
So I think just difficulty-wise, and also kind of, I think that would have been a great ace for her. I love Glamora as an ace. I love the new Pokemon design, but I agree with Trent that it should have come out a lot sooner.
Yeah, they released a lot of Pokemon with signature abilities in this game. In fact, they added just a whole lot of really good abilities
so much
in
shit.
general.
Yeah.
This gen. And for that one to be where if it gets hit, it throws out toxic spikes. I really wish it wouldn't have been the last Pokemon because, sure, if it ends up sweeping you, you're going to send out Pokemon and they're going to be poisoned. But at the same time, why not guarantee that? Because normally the trainer is gonna swap something into Glamora whenever before she sends it out. So if it would have been at the start of the battle, it would have been unavoidable.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that might have been intentional on their part. Like they wanted it to be an easier battle than it could have been.
Yeah, because I think as much as the champion was like set to be the final fight and typically is, Nemona's the real final fight. Yeah.
Yeah. Nemona's the final fight, and also, not to spoil the other storylines, but there's another kind of final.
After you do another storyline that we'll cover, you get a tournament at the academy that anyone at the academy is able to join, and even Gita, I think.
Yeah,
I know Gita's in the first one. I don't know if she's in any after that.
I've done it after that, and Gita is usually, not always, but usually the final battle that you fight.
Oh, okay.
In that tournament when you replay it.
I have not gotten that far.
I
haven't done the re-challenge of the gym leaders yet. I should probably do that.
You should. You get a lot of new dialogue when you go re-challenge them.
And a lot of good XP, because they actually have decent mon. Nothing compared to what your level will probably be already. Nothing that's gonna... I don't think I got challenged much. Oh, actually, there was one that knocked me down 4 mons or something, because I was just sending them in order. I wasn't trying to out-strategize them or anything, but they're higher level. They're semi-challenged.
Yeah, they're a rebattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
So, first off, I think we just start off with starters, because my dumbass decided, hey, since y'all two are going something different, I'll take the third one. So let's hear about y'all starters.
Sprigatito's great. I love my little friend. I think the whole evolution line was super fun. Before the games came out, we decided to look at a couple of the leaks going into it. So we were all kind of watching the starters as they started to get revealed. I think Sprigatito is solid evolutionary line, with the final stage being that Meowscarada. Signature move is a guaranteed crit with stab. Mwah, magnific. I love it. Love it. That was my baby. It carried me through any issues that I had going in.
Yeah, Skeledirge and Fuecoco as the first form of Skeledirge, also very, very busted. Its signature move is called Torch Song. It is a fire-type move, 70 base power, 100% accuracy, and it raises your special attack.
Wait, I thought it was 80 base power.
80 base power. My apologies.
Even
70
better.
is for Meowscarada. 80 base power, and it just hits, because he has a really strong special attack stat. It hits like a truck already, and then you're just... Once you get one off, you're one-shotting everything else on the field. It's honestly a little bit boring, so I didn't use him too much, because it was way too easy to win battles with him, because he is just so good.
It's so funny. I was looking at the different mons trying to figure out the strats that work with them. I think Meowscarada is built to be a crit attacker, constantly focus on crits. They have access to all the moves like Night Slash and all the ones that have a much higher chance of dealing crit damage. You have the guaranteed crit with their signature move. And then all that around its hidden ability, which is apparently Protean? Protean? Terrifying. Though, they nerfed Protean in this game.
Yeah, you can only do it once per battle now, right?
Yeah, it's
Wait,
one time
really?
per battle, and then you're locked into that type. Which is fine, I guess, because you can work around the Terra typing, but still. What about you, Trent? What do you think of your little duck friend?
So I went with Quaxley, which ended up into Quackawall, which it's a pretty solid mon stat-wise and everything. It's super fast, hits hard. Its signature move Aqua Step increases its speed, which when compared to the other two signature moves seems kind of useless since it's already a fast mon, but that's fine. Fuck, I hate this duck.
You really didn't need to go with a duck. I know how much you loved Fuecoco.
I really did. I will say it did kind of grow on me as I went through, but I definitely hate the battle animation for Quackawall.
It's so dorky. It's a little dance.
In
Quackawall.
Yeah. In its defense, water fighting is really good typing.
Yeah.
And its hidden ability is Moxie. So if you use Aqua Step to get a knockout, you just get a free Dragon Dance.
Yeah.
I think Quack has a really good chance of being strong competitively.
The best thing about my starter is the middle evolution's name was Quaxwell, so I had a couple jokes I could throw out there.
Quaxwell, I think, is a top tier name. What a good name for a Pokemon.
The names for all, like, we're not going to go through every new Pokemon. The names of all the new Pokemon are fucking 5-star.
They're so good.
Smoliv. Brilliant.
Smoliv.
Let's go through some of the mons. Which ones, stood out for you guys? I actually have, the full Pokedex of new mons open.
That's what I'm trying to get open right now.
So, I think my standout new Pokemon is a new evolution of an old Pokemon. It is King Gambit. It's an evolution of Bisharp, which I already loved because Dark and Steel is such a cool type. King Gambit is just a better Bisharp that it's just really good. It has strong stats. It has great abilities. Its signature move, Kowtow Cleave, is, I believe, a 85 base power move that never misses. And it gets all the normal, like Iron Head, Swords Dance, Night Slash, all the strong moves. Its abilities are nuts. It gets either Defiant, which raises its attack after it has any of its stats lowered, or it has Supreme Overlord, which raises its attack and special attack for each ally in its party that's been defeated when it enters the battle. So you're getting stat boosts, and you have great attack stats already. I think it's like base 135 attack stat, which is legendary level strong. It's just a boss. Love him.
I think for me, my two, I've got three favorites of the region. I absolutely adore Clodsire. I think it is the perfect regional evolution for our little Whooper boy. Just this flat mudfish laying on the ground with the most derpy face. He's round. It's perfect. It's just pure joy. Also a fucking tank of a Pokemon. I've got one with Water Absorb, which is great for a poison ground type. That thing carried me through most of the game. Absolutely magnificent. And then I like the Tinkaton line. I think Tinkaton's cool.
Tinkaton is a very cool line.
Oh yeah, Tinkaton's fantastic. I love that line. I used it on my team. What was your other one, Walker? And then I'm gonna just go over my team.
Oh, it's all good. One of my favorite Pokemon of all time was Dunsparce. Love Dunsparce. This is so stupid. And then I heard through the grapevine a rumor that he was getting an evolution in this game. And I was like, oh, he's getting an evolution. That's exciting. I've seen some pretty buck wild evolution theories online for, what it could look like. They just made him more. And then they gave him the perfect name of Dunsparce, just like someone stuttering. And that's what this Pokemon is. It's a stutter of a Pokemon. I love it. I love it so much. I think it's perfectly stupid for an evolution for Dunsparce. I'm of two minds. There's some really cool fan art. I think it could have gone really cool to be like a normal dragon or something else kind of cool. Or just Long Meme Boy. And I think Long Meme Boy fits Dunsparce pretty good. So we got Dun and Dunsparce.
So you know that you can get one that's has 3 bodies in the center, yeah?
Yup, I am actively trying to hunt one down, because it's a 1 in 100 chance to evolve into a 3-segment form, and I want a shiny one of those, so it's just going to be even worse for me. Ew. So, yeah.
My god.
I'm going to be making a lot of normal type sandwiches and running through certain areas of the game.
You know what you gotta name them if you get it, though, right?
Dunsparce. Dunsparce. The one that I ran through on my team with was named Dun Dun Dun.
I want to just name a couple, or just one more Pokemon that I really enjoyed, which is Toedscruel. I did not have one on my team. I honestly don't really want to use one on my team, but the design of just a tentacle but walking on its tentacles, peak design.
The way it fucking runs.
It's so goofy. I love it.
It's so good. And it fucking hauls ass too. And it goes.
And the color scheme actually looks cool.
Have you seen the shiny for Toad School?
I have not.
Oh, look at it real
color is
quick.
it?
It's like monochrome. It's super cool. Here, I'll post it in chats.
Ooh.
You see
I
it?
do like that. Yeah. Damn. Yeah. I'm looking at a list of all the new Pokemon, and every single one I want to talk about because they're all just so good. Except Squawkabilly. Fuck Squawkabilly.
I love Squawkabilly.
It's not even funny useless. It's just there.
It's so dumb. But the fact the flying taxi in this game is like 4 Squawkabillies hauling it, I think is great. The fact they have to have Squawkabilly instead of Corviknight because Tinkaton's a fucking menace. Incredible.
So actually, I don't know the lore behind that. What is the lore behind that?
According to Tinkaton's Pokedex entry, it likes to basically snipe Corviknight out of the sky and rip its wings off to make its hammer.
Yeah, so the
God.
early forms of Tinkatot is the first form?
Tinkatink, Tinkatuff, and Tinkaton.
Tinkatink gets bullied by Steel-type Pokemon, and as it evolves, it uses Steel types to defend itself, and eventually by its final form, it's getting revenge on the Pokemon that bullied it by fucking sniping Corviknights out of the sky with its hammer.
Here's the Pokedex entry in Scarlet. This intelligent Pokemon has a very daring disposition. It knocks rocks into the sky with its hammer, aiming for flying Corviknight.
Oh, that's why you only see Corviknight in the fucking crater.
Yup.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They're hiding because they're terrified. It's a fucking menace. I love it. I love it so much.
My team consisted of Quackawall. I also took a Low Kicks, the bug dark type, because I found one with a fighting Terra and Axe Kick on that. Mwah. Oh, it's so good.
You say low kicks?
Yeah.
Lokix was a pest, but it through running around everywhere. But I think the design is pretty cool.
The design is cool.
Brady doesn't like bug Pokemon.
It's garbage.
It's got insane attack, actually.
Yeah.
It's got, at best, an okay attack.
It's got 102 in attack. Is that not?
Yeah, that's not great.
Oh well, okay, fair.
You just said 135 is legendary level, bud.
I know, but a lot of Pokemon have base 100 attack, and that's kind of middling.
I'm sorry. I keep scrolling through this list, and I genuinely
Every
there's
time I see
very,
one, I want
very
to look at
few
more. Yeah,
bad Pokemon in this gen. I think they're all pretty solid.
I think Bombardier is the only one I don't love, and even that one's okay.
I also used Saraledge, the Fire Ghost. Oh my god, Charcadet and his 2 evolutions. I think they're both dope, but Saraledge is so fucking dope.
Do we want to save talk on? We'll save talk for some of the pokes until the end. But what about some of the legends? Do you want to talk about the 4?
Sure, that's fine with me.
As long as no one has an issue with it. I think all 4 of this region's oh god, I guess they're typically a legendary, the sub-legendary trios, but here we have a quartet, and they are fantastic for the most part. I absolutely adore Wo-Chen, which is the dark grass slug, or snail. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It looks like something out of a Studio Ghibli movie. It's so cool. And then Chin Pao, the sword weasel, or sword ferret, whatever the hell it is super cool as well.
I think it's supposed to be a saber-toothed tiger.
Look, dude, that tail is way too long for it to be a tiger.
Is it?
I read it as a ferret. I could be wrong, though.
The body shape looks like a ferret,
It's a ferret with a sword shoved in its mouth.
with 3 swords shoved in its mouth. Yeah, the Ruinous Quartet. The designs are fantastic, and the abilities are busted.
Oh, they are so good. The fact they get, free boosts initially is so good.
They lower the attack, defense, special attack, and special defense, depending on which one of the quartet it is, of everybody on the battlefield, except yourself. And it doesn't interact with stat boosts. So if I use Intimidate on someone, it lowers their attack by a certain stage, but that doesn't interact with their abilities. So you can normally only reduce someone's stats by it's 6 stages, right? Yeah. But you can have 6 stages of stat reduction and then also include this on top. So it's a separate thing.
It's almost like
which makes it even stronger.
yeah, it's almost like just a stadium card in the Pokemon trading card game almost. That thing's just like part of the world, it's there now. Their ability just activates and it's just applied until that Pokemon's KO'd pretty much.
Yeah, it's kind of like a terrain or weather where it just stacks on top of everything else. Very strong.
Ting Lu, the dark ground one, reminds me a lot of Shadow of the Colossus.
I also get that vibe.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Ting Lu was the one that didn't like fully do it for me, but that's because there's an exceptionally high bar that the first two set for me. Chen Yu, the fire goldfish, is like also barely eking over it, but Ting Lu just like barely goes underneath it.
Similar, but switched, where I like the bullhead guy a little bit more than the fish.
Gotcha.
Speaking of new legendaries,
Yeah.
there are 2 new legendaries in this game that you get to interact with a lot, Miraidon and Koraidon.
I think the designs are so cool. I'm a sucker for... I went with Scarlet. I don't think we ever mentioned that. I went with Scarlet. You guys went with Violet, right?
Correct.
So, I had Koraidon the whole time. Y'all had Miraidon. I think we'll get into it a little bit later with one of the other storylines, but all the story stuff with them was so cute. And then just as a whole, Koraidon's attack form or whatever it is just badass.
But it runs on its legs instead of using its wheels for traversal.
Exactly. I'm riding a beast, not riding a motorcycle. Ooh, you got a machine. You can get that anywhere. I can ride a fucking monster around.
Yeah, a monster with a fucking tire sticking out of its chest that is just vestigial.
Look, okay, don't bully him.
But combat-wise, these are probably the 2 strongest Pokemon. That's it. These are the 2 strongest Pokemon now, as far as battling goes.
Do their stats break?
Their stats are really strong. Their abilities are fucking nuts. I would say Miraidon maybe just slightly more than Koraidon because electric terrain synergizes better with his typing than Sunny Day does with Koraidon.
Gotcha.
But also physical attacks are a little bit stronger than special attacks, and Koraidon is a physical attacker while Miraidon is special. But Miraidon has a base 135 special attack, which, legendary level, it's nuts. All of its stats are at least 100 except for attack, which is only 85. Its speed is also 135, so it's outspeeding everything. And it enters the battle, it causes electric terrain, which will boost its electric attacks.
Pretty much, yeah. It's built around having Sunny Day, or basically a free Sunny Day with its Orichalcum Impulse, instead of the electric terrain, which gives it a boost to fire type, which is okay, but it's a fighting dragon, not a fire dragon, so you don't even get the stab off of it. So it is a little weird, but I think there is a reason for that.
Spoilers for later. I think Scarlet got the short end of the stick with legendaries and their abilities, specifically Sunny Day versus electric terrain, but we can get into that later.
Good.
So anything else about the new Pokemon y'all want to cover?
Not for this set on my end, at least.
Dondozo and Tatsugiri should be brought up. This is a wild pairing, especially in double battles, because whenever you fight these Pokemon, as long as the Tatsugiri has the commander ability, whenever you send them both out into the battle, it will go into Dondozo's mouth. It sharply boosts every stat of Dondozo, and Dondozo's the only one you can attack with, and he's the only Pokemon that can be targeted during this time, and he's already like a pretty tanky big boy fish, so like that's just kind of nuts. I love like all the stuff they did with the new Pokemon in this game.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think some of the different combinations you can get off, like you said with Dondozo and Tatsugiri even, it's just so fun. I think there's very few, if any, misses overall in the character designs. What'd y'all think of Gimmighoul?
I think that's a really cool way to evolve a Pokemon, especially whenever you look at the description of how a Goldingo, the evolution, is literally 1,000 coins stacked on top of each other, which, in order to evolve your Gimmighoul, which has a coin on it, you have to collect 999 Gimmighoul coins. So it's literally looking for the other 999 coins so that it can make itself into this Mon. I just thought it was like really fucking cool.
Oh, and one other thing, Goldingo is busted.
Goldingo is busted from what I've heard. I haven't really had much of a chance to experiment with it, but its ability is just absolutely buck wild. No status effects can touch it. It's insane. The only thing I dislike about the whole Gimme Ghoul thing.
Oh, sorry. Just to correct, it's not no status effects. It's no status moves. Stuff like taunt or follow me,
Confuse Ray.
confuse ray, any of the status moves, any move that, physical, special, and status are the 3 types of move. Any move that has the status type just doesn't affect Goldingo, which is
Insane.
third of the moves just don't matter. And he's got a 6 surfboard.
Yeah, I think the only issue that I had with it is I don't like the cry that Gimme Ghoul has, and the fact that you hear it every time you walk around. It's very good at letting you know when there's one nearby, but I play typically with audio on, so I'll hear their cry every single time I'm walking near one. It's like, all right, I know you're here. Calm down, please.
How's your shiny tinkle?
Sad. I'm so sad. I don't want to talk about it.
That's one negative thing in this game. You have to spot your shinies. You could have gone through the game and missed your shinies, most likely.
Yeah, I'm of two minds about this. Being someone who is a super nerd when it comes to shinies in general, I go through and have most of them memorized, like their color palettes and stuff, so I'm actively watching, like keeping an eye out. I think it's kind of cool. You have to pay super close attention, not just run through absent-mindedly. But it does lead to, I'm sure, tons of scenarios where people are probably running right past shiny Pokemon, not realizing it, or even just one being off-screen. You have no way of knowing. It's a little sad in that regard, but there are still some really cool instances you can get some shiny Pokemon in.
I will say I think I like the shiny change, if only because if I want to check 30 Pokemon, instead of having to run into the bushes and encounter 30 wild battles and then run away from 30 wild battles, I can just show up to an area, leave the area, and come back and encounter 40 Pokemon in no time flat.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree.
It's just so much easier to find shinies. You can miss a couple, but that's no different than missing it because you miss an area of grass.
Yeah, no. What I was talking about, the shiny tinkle being the how in Legends Arceus, if there was a shiny, you would hear it. You would hear like a sound notification that specifically meant shiny, and then you could go find it. It's not and there were no grass encounters in that game either. It was all overworld, but you would be able to you would get a notification like, hey, there's a shiny nearby, so you knew to be alert.
Oh, I didn't think missing shinies was that big a deal in this game.
That's fair. There are some instances where, there's Pokemon who have, such a minor difference in their color palette that you just would not know, period. So it's instances like that where it's oh, well, that sucks that you more likely than not miss them. But there's a couple ways to mitigate that. Stuff like the auto battle mechanic, which we'll talk about later. It won't let you automatically kill shinies, so you don't have to worry about that too much. It'll stop and kind of give you a heads up, oh, well, I'm not going to attack this one. So there are some good things that they've done, but like I said, I'm of two minds about it, but I'm leaning more towards I like it more than I'm upset by it. I think it appeals more to the shiny hunter in me of just oh, I want to go through and prove my knowledge, oh, well, I knew that this guy was shiny, whatever, little things like that. I've got a lot of shinies, by the way, guys.
I haven't been shiny hunting. I'm probably just gonna 100% the Pokedex and then call it until there's DLC, just because I have so much going on that if I resort to shiny hunting again, I'm going to not only lose my mind but also lose my job.
Fair. Let's talk about Starfall Street. I don't have a crazy whole lot to say about this, other than I think the story overall was very interesting and well done. I was not a crazy big fan of the initial part of the Starfall Street, which was the initial assault on the base. My counter to this is that the boss fights at the end of it were actually some of the hardest in the game for me. I wiped a couple of times on some Starfall bosses.
I think the assault was just their way of getting you to use the auto feature more than if you weren't using it in the open world. It kind of needed to be there so that it could show it off a bit. I do agree those boss fights were kind of crazy for some of them. So the types of the bases were actually dark, fairy, fighting, fire, and what was the last one? Poison. Each one had its own specific leader that did a different thing in the organization. Did any of them stand out to you, really?
I can't for the life of me remember their name, like many of their names, but I really liked Mela. I thought Mela was super fun initially.
And which one is Mela?
She's the fire type.
Yes. Yes.
She was super, super fun. I think the most interesting was probably Awry, who was the fighting one up in the northeast of the map. She was the one who wiped me multiple times.
She was probably my favorite, I think, out of all of them. Either her or Mela.
I'm going to butcher this name. Giacomo? The dark one.
The dark type? Yeah. He seemed pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the dark type one. I could not stand Ortega. Mela was kind of annoying to me as well. But the other, like Giacomo, Atticus, and what was the fighting one again?
Awry.
Awry, I did enjoy them. Although, Awry, like, in the first couple cutscenes you do, depending on the order that you do it in, you're just seeing her back, so I totally did not even expect the fucking fighting, like, painted face mask that she had on it, and it, like, caught me off guard the first time I saw it. I was like, what the fuck's going on?
So you said you couldn't stand Ortega. I really liked Ortega's design. I thought it caught me off guard, and I thought it was really cool.
Oh, the design's good. He was annoying little shit.
Fine. I can understand that.
There was a lot of mentions how he was going to use mom's money and stuff a lot of times, and I'm just like, oh, a fucking rich kid. Got it. Get the fuck out of here. And he played into that a lot, so left a bad taste in my mouth.
Fair. So the Starfall Street storyline is basically there was this group of kids. You don't know all of this from the beginning. There's this group of kids that was getting bullied at the school your character is attending, and they formed they kind of teamed up together to stop themselves from being bullied. Because they teamed up together, the misconception gave them kind of a bad rap with the administrators of the school. They thought they were a gang, but they were just friends trying to stop being bullied or something. You team up with the head master of your school. Oh, sorry, no. Student named
Everyday
Clive.
normal student, Clive.
An everyday normal student named Clive. And you take down these bases with the help of Penny, who you find out later is the secret leader of Team Star, who also has a full team of evolutions.
Which would be my team if I was in the Pokemon world, if I'm being completely honest.
I didn't like her as much as Nimona, but I liked her a lot.
I thought Penny was interesting. I think it was a super fun character. The fake out at the very end caught me off guard, because I called that it was going to be Penny that was the secret big boss, the Cassiopeia character. Then you get to the front doors of the school to go and, like, challenge them, and fucking Clive is standing there like, it was me the whole time. I'm like, okay, you got me.
And then he's like, so you realize I've been the principal the entire time? And you're like, yes, we caught on very quickly. But he's like, no, you didn't. Or he's like, wait, you knew the whole time? Wow. What? Like, it depends on what you select. I actually went back both times to select both audios, and it's funny whichever way you respond to him in that conversation.
That's awesome. The reveal at the end of it, supposedly the big boss being the director of the academy, completely threw me for a loop. And then, no, turns out it was, in fact, Penny. You go in, you battle her, and then we get a nice resolution to the story, which I was very happy to see. Team Star ends up getting fully accepted by the academy and basically let off on almost all charges, except for Penny, because she was actively hacking into the school's money network, which was not okay.
The entire, like, battle with the principal, I was autopiloting the battle. I couldn't even tell you one of the Pokemon he had, honestly, because I was sitting there thinking, how could it have been him the entire time, and sitting there piecing it together, and I'm like, nah, there's no way it is, because of this, and this, and, like, taking these points. Honestly, it's almost like the Charlie Day meme, like, there's no way the principal is the leader.
The director did use the other starter Evo, the one that is super effective against you.
That's right.
Which is interesting. I got to see Quackquavel.
Quack.
And almost got swept because he got one kill off with the Aqua Step, and got super fast. But other than that, the battle was pretty easy for me.
that was not the case for me.
Oh, because he had
He started
Skeledirge.
getting off his torch songs. I was so dead so fast. It was not good for me. He got a 1 kill off of my team and then started laying waste to the rest of them so quickly. I had to go back in, prepare specifically for Skeledirge.
Turns out I just needed a Pokemon that could tank 1 crit to Masquerada, and then it went down, so. Luckily, I had a bug in Dark, and I literally just one-shot it because it's 4x weak to bug.
Bugs are scary.
Actually, no, that's right. He didn't even get a hit off of me because I had first impression on my low kicks. I first impressioned it, and just Masquerada was dead. Easy peasy.
Any other thoughts on Starfall Street? I thought the twist with the car itself being a Pokemon that you had to fight, kind of terrifying. Those things were scary and knocked me out a couple of times, but other than that, I didn't have too much of a struggle with them.
I thought the car thing was like, I didn't like it, but I didn't dislike it either. The only reason I didn't like it is because I'm like, well, now I want one that's that size. Why can't I have that? Why do I have to catch the shitty one and just have this? I couldn't have their version of it. I could only have mine. And also, I wasn't a huge fan of Penny either. Like, she was okay, but, like, I don't hate her or anything, but y'all were gushing about Penny, how y'all liked her, so I feel like I should just be there and be like, well, I didn't love her.
I didn't think we were gushing. I just said she was alright.
Yeah, she was alright. Didn't have any qualms with her. You want to move on to the last story?
Let's move on to the last couple of mechanics we haven't covered yet. Specifically, Terra types, which is the new generational gimmick.
Fuck your Mega Evolution. Instead, we're going to change the type we're going to change everything to monotypes. Fuck you, Trent.
I thought it was a really cool concept. The only thing I don't like about it is the dumb fucking hats. Terra typing lets you once per battle change one of your Pokemon's types. It is your Pokemon becomes exclusively that type. It retains all of its stab bonuses from its previous typing, but it gets the defensive benefits of the new typing. If your Pokemon is Terra typed into a type it already was, so if you have Skeledirge, which is Fire Ghost, and Terra type it into Fire, you get double the stab, which is very good offensively. You also lose the weaknesses of the old second type. That's the general Terra typing. When your Pokemon Terra types, depending on the type they change it into, they get a hat. It is too big. It is weird looking. I do not like the hat.
Some of the hats are really good. Some of them are very bad. So some of them you can't even tell the type of what they are. For instance, the dark type one, I swear, just looks like a bunch of almost radio waves that you took into paint and just picked a random color and then clicked the paint bucket and filled in how the radio waves went.
Yeah, it's a dude like smirking.
Yeah, it doesn't scream dark type to me. There are a few mons that can rock the hat correctly. There are more mons that can't really. I like the idea of Garganical, the Minecraft looking Pokemon with a Rock Terra. I saw one of them, and it's just like his big block body with the little point on the head, and then he gets a hat that's just another fucking block on it top. It just looks like one of those weird Minecraft environments that randomly spawn into your new world.
I don't have a crazy whole lot to say about Terra. I'm not big into the competitive scene, and I definitely can see the competitive viability that Terra types bring into it. Just not my scene. I think it's cool to get a little bit extra damage, but I very rarely used it in game.
Yeah, I didn't really use it in game because there weren't any challenging battles.
I made a point to use it every gym battle just because.
Yeah. I used it for every. Well, I didn't use it for the Elite Four because I didn't think I could recharge it, and I was saving it for the champion. Only later did I learn it goes every battle. I think the biggest excitement for me is the competitive scene because it gives a lot of interesting options.
Because you have no clue what their Terra type's going to be. Yeah, we should stress, any Pokemon can have any Terra type, and you can change those too. So they actually did a lot of quality of life things for being able to grind out a competitive Pokemon in this game. Being able to change your Terra type, being able to change your nature, you find the mints everywhere. What else?
Yeah, so any Pokemon can become any type. They streamlined leveling and experience candies, and they also streamlined EV training, which is a little easier this generation. A lot of quality of life changes that make competitive viable for the average player. Yeah, anything else on Terra typing?
No, all that's pretty much it from my end, at least.
Cool, cool, cool. Well, then let's move on to the final plot line.
The Path of Legends. Let's jump into this. What order did y'all tackle these 5 titans in?
I actually Googled the correct path, like, so at least one of us would take it. I didn't know if, I figured y'all would go and explore willy nilly and do whatever y'all wanted to. So I wanted one of us to at least go through the way that they intended to see how it affected their game and everything. So
I don't know that I think the willy nilly find it as you may was the intended method.
but like I went specifically by level, by the level of everything, so that I could, because basically the numerical way to play the game, I guess.
Yeah, so I did cloth, then bombardier, then I did orthworm.
Yeah, Orthworm. The one in the desert will be different depending on which game you have. One of them's Iron Treads, one of them's Great Tusk, and that's for Violet,
Yeah.
Scarlet, respectively.
Yeah, I had iron treads. I did that, and then I did the false dragon Dondozo.
So I did them ever so slightly out of the order. I did Cloth and then Orthworm, and then I went back for Bombardier, Great Tusk, and then Dundozo. Pretty. It was pretty obvious that the other way was the way to go, because when I got back to Bombardier, I one-shotted it in the 2 different battle phases it had. It was kind of sad.
I think the only one that gave me a real challenge was Iron Treads. I challenged Iron Treads a little under leveled, actually. Well, it was the only thing I was under leveled for in the entire game, and like, Iron Treads hits fucking hard.
I fought iron treads on level, and it was still very difficult. It was a strong Pokemon.
The only thing that let me get through Great Tusk was the auto crit from Meowscarada. I lost the first 2 times and then was able to get a couple crits in a row on it. But yeah, that it was a brutal fight, actually. Way harder than I was expecting.
Pleasantly surprised by the difficulty of these boss fights. Like, it wasn't anything crazy, but they were a challenge. The cool part about this is you do it with a new character, Arven, and every time you beat a boss, you get a cool little cutscene.
Arven's on a hunt for Herba Mystica. Little special herb that grows out in the wilderness in a couple different areas, which can boost the power of different Pokemon, which is why we have these giant Titan Pokemon spread out throughout the world.
Yeah, and these Urban Mysticas, they each had specific health benefits to them. And so the entire time Arvin's taking these, he's making sandwiches out of them. And your sandwich is getting eaten by your bicycle, to the point that I will be naming mine Sandwich. And it's actually helping your legendary regain some of his old strength back. But Arvin's also making the sandwich specifically for the health of another Pokemon as well. It's his dog Pokemon Mabostive, which was given to him by his respective parent, depending on which game you are in. Arvin's the son of whichever professor in the game you have, and basically the professor spends most of their time doing Pokemon research and not with Arvin. So Arvin's given him a Mabostive, and it's pretty much been his rock, been there for him the entire time. And Mabostive got very hurt in the Great Crater, and before this whole Herba Mystica mission happened. And so you're getting these Herba Mystica to try and heal Arvin's dog Mabostive, and it's so sad. I really thought by the end of this quest line the dog was going to die. I was very worried.
Haha, joke's on you. Can I make that joke now?
Yeah.
Joke's on you. The dog didn't die. The parent did. Ooh-ah.
Fuck Arvin.
Yeah, fucking Arvin, dude.
You save the dog. The Herba Mystica works. The dog is healthy, and you get your legendary bikes as it eats it. It gets new abilities, unlocks new ways to travel. One of the first ones you unlock is Sprint, which lets you move faster. You get one that lets you go on the water. You get one that lets you glide. You get one that lets you run up walls. But once you finish the main storyline and all the other storylines, you get the Crater of Paldea, which is where you eventually encounter the professor of your game.
As well as a whole lot of other Pokemon that we didn't mention yet. Some of these Pokemon are pretty nuts. They're all either future versions or past versions of Pokemon we already know about.
This section of the game is one of my favorite Pokemon experiences of all time. So, you have to complete all 3 different story beats in the game. And then you grab your 3 respective friends from those different paths, and all of you jump into the crater together. This crater is straight out of Made in Abyss. It is so cool, so beautiful. There's this like ethereal music playing in the background with this underlying like chorus of chanting, and it's just fucking neat. I absolutely adore this area.
Everything's bright as fuck.
It's so bright for a dense layer of fog laying over it, man. It's getting all the sunlight in the world. It's got these fancy crystals everywhere, bright giant green areas and waterfalls, and a hole that goes all the way down.
And in this, you can find some of these past and future Mons. Some of them being... so the past ones being Great Tusk, which is a prehistoric version of Donphan. Screamtail, a version of Jigglypuff. Brute Bonnet, a version of Amoonguss. Fluttermane, a version of Mischievous. And Slitherwing, a version of Volcarona. And Sandy Shocks, a version of Magneton.
And then on the future end, you've got Iron Treads, which is the future version of Donphan. You've got Iron Moth, future version of Volcarona. Iron Hands, future version of Hirayama. Iron Jugulus, which playing Scarlet, I had no access to this, so when I saw the name, I was exceptionally confused as to what it could be. It's a future Hydreigon, which is super cool. Iron Thorns, future Tyranitar. Iron Bundle, which is our future Delibird, which I think is exceptionally cute.
It even has their own, like, one that stands out above these Mons, one being Roaring Moon, a past version of Salamence, and Iron Valiant, a future version of Gallade.
/ Gardevoir.
It almost looks kind of like a fusion of it, which, honestly, with how that one looks, I was almost hoping that Roaring Moon could be, like, maybe I guess actually with the body.
Roaring Moon looks so similar to, like, the Mega Salamence. It's so cool.
Yeah, I was hoping that Roaring Moon would be like a mix between Salamence and Metagross from that gen. I thought that would have been pretty cool. But I'm not unsatisfied with what Roaring Moon looks like, though. And just judging by the size of his body compared to his wings, those wings are fucking huge.
They're massive. These are some of the coolest Pokemon in the game, if I'm being completely honest. I love all the Paradox Pokemon overall.
Because of the environment, the colors on Iron Jugulus, like, pop so much. Like, the pink is, like, blinding. I loved it.
Have either of y'all seen Sandy Shocks in motion yet?
No.
It moves so freakily. I'll post a video in a little bit so y'all can see it, but it is bizarre. It is just a freak of a Pokemon. But yeah, Brady, you want to talk a little bit about what happens down here in Area 0?
Yeah, so the reason they're coming to Area 0 is because the professor, who is Arvin's dad or mom, depending on the game, asks you to bring your ride Pokemon into the crater. So you get Arvin, and you have to complete the other 2 storylines as well. And you bring Penny, and you bring Nimona with you. And you go down to the bottom of the crater, and you find his lab, or her lab. When you get there, you meet what you assume is the professor. I'm not sure how it works in Scarlet, but in Violet, you meet an android. who looks and has the memories of the professor, but is not the professor because the professor is dead. And Arvin is an orphan.
R.I. fucking P, dude. I did not see Pokemon ever mentioning proper death of a human.
What was your professor in Scarlet, Walker? Was it like an android as well, or?
Yeah, it was AI Seda.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe it's the exact same thing, just the people swapped out. I think we even got mostly the same dialogue.
Okay.
Yeah, so once you talk to this person, you have to shut off a machine, some Deus Ex Machina thing. When you shut it off, the android professor goes psycho as some sort of last defense mechanism. They attack you with a bunch of Paradox Pokemon. You fight a big battle and defeat them, and they jump through a portal to time travel, leaving Arvin without even a semblance of parenthood. And that's kind of it. That's a game.
I think we need to talk about that battle for a second, because you beat his team as the Paradox Pokemon, and then he brings in another one of the legendaries of the Bite Pokemon that you fight, and because of where you're at, he completely locks the use of any of your Pokeballs. And I don't know about you guys, but like figuring out what you have to do after that, like I like that little puzzle. Like it was something small. It was something just noticeable enough. But like I'm sitting there like, okay, I can't attack. I can't throw a Pokeball. I can't do anything. What do I do? And I just go into my party and I'm just looking. I'm like, wait a second. And I just scroll down all the way, and it lets me go past my 6th Pokemon to Miraidon. And I'm like, oh, no fucking way. That's dope as hell. And I fucking selected it there and was able to use Miraidon for the fight. I assumed I was going to be able to use Miraidon for the fight, but I didn't think they would make it to where I have to figure out how to bring him out.
It was super clever.
That was a really cool moment.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. I think on top of all that too, the sheer balls of the professor, every single one of their Pokemon being caught in a Master Ball and then throwing it out at you. It's like, all right, guys, just like chucking this multi-million-dollar ball at us like it's no big deal. 6 of them in a row.
I guess we know why they're so rare now.
Yeah.
And because we're fighting Pokemon from the future, it almost feels like we're fighting God in Violet. That's the kind of like thought I got there. I was like, okay, so this is literally bringing in Pokemon that have been genetically made, or not genetically, but like specifically made to be better than the ones here and now. And he's just bringing them out of Master Balls. I'm like, is this God?
It was a pretty cool fight. I really enjoyed it. But the absolute heartache of Arvin running in at the very end just to watch his parrot basically say later and poof out of existence and watch them die again. So sad.
Yeah, Arvin got done dirty.
Arvin got done so dirty.
He's kind of an asshole at the beginning of the game, and then you slowly start growing to like him, and then this happens, you're just like, oh, you poor boy, come here. And you just want to give him a hug and pat him on the headset, tell him it's going to be okay.
Yeah, Arvin just needs all of the hugs after this story. Maybe some therapy.
Oh, therapy.
Is there anything else y'all want to talk about when it comes to Pokemon? We've been talking for a decent bit of time now, but I just wanted to see any final thoughts.
Yeah, that's it for me. All right, so let's talk about our top 10 games of the year. This is all the games that came out this year or came out of alpha and were officially published this year. We are not including any games that came out previously that we played this year. So with that, I'll start off with my number 10 slot, which is a game we've already played on this podcast called Tiny Tina's Wonderland. I think it definitely earned a spot in my top 10, but I also played 9 games that I thought were better than it this year.
For my number 10, I'm going to go ahead and place Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. This game was a lot of fun to go through playing with my partner. It's got a really good co-op split screen system, so we were able to sit and play on the couch and had a really, really good time with it for like 98% of the gameplay. But as we started to get close to the end and decided we wanted 100% the game to figure out what the big lever does in the Temple on Yavin, it started to get very repetitive, and we started to see a little bit more of the cracks and bugs that were in the game. So for that, it's only going to land at my number 10 slot on this list.
My number 10 is going to be Slime Rancher 2. I didn't get to play as much of this game as I wanted to this year, just because of being busy. But from what I did play of it, I did enjoy it. It's better than the first one. It makes a lot of improvements and adds a lot of new stuff. However, the gameplay is very similar, so I couldn't find myself playing it for more than a couple hours at a time without getting bored or falling asleep, because I'm a tired guy. So it'll be my number 10. Probably would have been higher if I would have been able to have more time.
My number 9 game was a game that we have not talked about in this podcast. It is a game that has been in alpha for a couple of years, but just officially released in 2022, called Tim. It's essentially a knockoff Pokemon MMO, but it is a lot of fun.
I stay on the platypus and Tim. My number 9 is going to be Disney's Dreamlight Valley. I thought this was such a fun take on the Animal Crossing Stardew Valley formula of going through, building up a little town with a unique twist of having all the Disney characters in it. I think it was handled exceptionally well. The gameplay seems to be very... The team itself seems to be very actively listening to the community and taking those recommendations that they have, and they are actively working on it and improving it and making it better. Very enjoyable experience that lands at my number 9.
My number 9 is, it might be a surprise to these two, considering how much I love the entirety of the series. But Tiny Tina Wonderland is actually going to be my number 9. It's pretty low because as I went through, I found myself not enjoying it as much as the other Borderlands games. The story was really good, but the gameplay and the ability to just like stick there and keep playing, I felt was kind of the same. I did like the magic splash done over all the guns and the grenades and stuff, but it left a lot lacking, and I felt it was like pretty short compared to other entries in the series. So
my number 8 slot is going to go to Power Washer Simulator. Fantastic game. Go listen to our podcast where we talked about Power Washer Simulator to get more detailed thoughts. But it was a little too short to be ranked any higher than number 8 for me.
Jumping off of that, I'm going to go into my number 8, which is actually going to be the games we just spoke about. Pokemon Scarlet lands on my number 8 of the year. I feel like while the game was incredible and made a bunch of leaps in the right direction, there were far too many technical hindrances at different points in the game and graphical issues and just ever so slightly too much for it to land higher up on my list. So it's going to land solidly at number 8.
my number 8 is going to be a multiplayer game that I've been really enjoying, especially coming back from not playing in the series for a while. It's actually going to be Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, specifically their Warzone 2. Warzone 2 has been so much better than the first one. I've been really enjoying it, and I've been playing it a lot with a group of my friends, and it's just taken me back to the nostalgia days of me back in high school whenever I used to have a different group that I would play Call of Duty with every night, and it's been a lot of fun.
My number 7 is going to go to Horizon Forbidden West. I'm not going to lie. The fact that I played this game super early in the year and have played the other games that are a little bit higher on my list more recently might be a factor into why it's number 7 and not higher. But at 7 through 4 are all so close on my list that just a roll of the dice and any of them could be placed a little differently. So even though it's number 7, it's good enough to be all the way up at number 4 in a slightly different year.
I Completely agree, but we'll talk about that in a minute because my number 7 is actually going to be Slime Rancher 2. I love this game. I adored every single moment that I played through it. The only reason it's landing at number 7 and not higher up on the list is purely because I know there is more that is going to be coming with this game, and I'm looking forward to all the new slimes and extensions that they add onto it. This world has just been so fun. I'm excited to see even more of it going forward.
My number 7 is what I thought was going to be a curveball coming into this because I didn't think that either of these two would think about it, but mine's going to be Tim Tim as well. I really enjoyed this game. I played it with Brady and a group of 2 other of our friends, and we went through it a lot. It used to be something like I streamed weekly as we were going through it, and I really enjoyed it. It has a very refreshing spin on a lot of Pokemon mechanics, and it feels a lot different, and the storyline was really good, and I got to experience it as it was coming out, so like every time I would get to the end of the content that they put out, and I'd just be like foaming at the mouth for more. I loved it.
My number 6 slot, I am anticipating getting some pushback for putting this game so low on the list, but my number 6 slot is going to Tunic. By far best indie game that came out this year. I don't think I'm ruffling any feathers besides the people at the Game Awards when I say that. Just all around fantastic. The only reason it isn't higher, honestly, personal enjoyment. I love Tunic, but I also loved my top 5 games. So
My heart aches a little bit, but I completely understand. At number 6, I'm putting Horizon Forbidden West. I talked about this game earlier on this year. I think every aspect of Horizon Zero Dawn was refined and improved for the sequel. I think it's kick-ass that you can jump on a flying mountain this time, even though it's closer to the end of the game. And just there's so much fun stuff that is in the world of Horizon Forbidden West. But there are some other games that land just ever so slightly higher for me.
My number 6 is probably a game neither of you have played this year. This is the game that I told you I was playing the other day that it quickly climbed up 4 slots and then dropped 2. Evil West. It's this cowboy meets vampire and werewolf game where you're going through this western setting killing all these vampires and werewolves, and like it's got a fun combat system, and it's got like a bunch of cool upgrades and stuff that you can do, and I was really loving this game until it hard froze on me on mission 12 out of 16, and it's a known bug and it's unplayable past that point for now, and we're just waiting for the patch that it releases in. But I've had so much fun in just the regular portion of this game that I had to include it. It was so good.
my number 5 slot on my top 10 list is going to go to Pokemon Violet. I feel like everybody that has listened to this point knows my thoughts on that game, so I'm just going to say Pokemon Violet.
Well, actually, we don't.
Actually, no, you don't, because my audio is being bad. Pokemon Violet is great. I love the new Pokemon. I love the new mechanics. There were, as Walker mentioned, some graphical and performance issues, but I feel like the content of the game carried it up to number 5, regardless.
I am going to go for my number 5. I'm not sure if y'all have even heard of this game, but it is fantastic. Escape Academy lands at my number 5 this year.
Ooh!
I went through and played this split screen with my partner, and it has some of the best puzzles, a super fun and colorful world. It's basically just a series of escape rooms that you can do with your partner or whoever you want to play with, or even by yourself. It's just a blast to run through. It's on Game Pass. Highly recommend. Go play it, guys.
Seconded, I considered putting this game on my top 10 list. I also picked it up on Game Pass, and I can confirm it's just as fun playing alone as it is playing with multiple people.
Hell yeah.
It's fantastic.
My number 5 is going to be a game that I've literally last night started playing again with another friend after I've already played through it with two friends. It's going to be Sniper Elite 5. I've loved the Sniper Elite series the entire time I've been playing it, and this one just has a lot of improvements to it. The story's pretty okay. But it's the gameplay and playing with a friend going through it for the first time, especially someone who hasn't played a Sniper Elite before. Some of the best moments I had in playing games was in this game, listening to my partner freak out, my co-op partner freak out during the game, and it was just funny. It was funny and it was fun.
My number 4 slot is going to go to another familiar game, Pokemon Legends Arceus. This is a game we started the podcast with. And yeah, I had really positive feelings about it then. I have really positive feelings about it now. I actually enjoyed this game a little bit more than I liked Violet, just because it was a little bit more of a change of pace from the standard Pokemon games. And going to an ancient Pokemon world is just such a cool concept. I had to put it at number 4.
At my number 4, I feel like I'm going to catch some hands for this. I'm going to put Elden Ring. I think it was really, really good, a game. My first experience truly in the FromSoft Souls-like universe, and it was a fantastic place to start. I thought the world was incredibly interesting. I know when we recorded the podcast for Elden Ring itself, I was barely through the second main area of the game. I was going through Raya Lucaria. Since then, I went through, beat the game. Incredible. It was super, super fun, super tough in a lot of places, but incredibly rewarding to go through. The final boss can suck it. Other than that, loved the game overall.
Don't worry, Walker. You ain't catching hands from it because one of us didn't even put it on the top 10. Don't worry. You ain't catching hands
That's
today.
the only thing that is saving I felt was saving my skin.
But my number 4 is going to be Satisfaction Simulator. I'm sorry, Power Wash Simulator. I really enjoyed playing this game. I played it with several of my friends. A lot of commonalities in my top 10 is whether or not I was able to enjoy most of these games with my friends. I'm a guy that likes playing their games alone sometimes, but I have much more fun whenever I'm playing with a friend. And I was able to get a bunch of my friends into this game, like up to 4 and at a time, and we would just go and we'd spray down a playground and have a ton of fun doing it, just cracking the shit. So I really enjoyed this game, and so I had to put it this high up because I did enjoy it a lot more than the other ones, and I played it with a lot more friends than some of the other games below me.
Oh, I think it's time for top 3 then, is that right?
That is correct. We are into the top 3.
Do we want to just go through the same way we've been?
Let's change up the order a little bit.
Yeah, I think either reverse order or we can flip
Reverse
around
order.
completely. Reverse order?
My number 3, if not for the fact that it released on PlayStation last year, would have been Deathloop. We forgot to go over honorable mentions, and Deathloop is my 100%, I'm not even mentioning another honorable mention because of how much I love that game. It, like I said, it would be my number 3 right here. But since I'm not able to include it, my number 3 is actually going to be Pokemon Violet. And that might seem like kind of crazy, but a lot of the negative things that a lot of people experienced in Pokemon Violet, I didn't, because I don't play Switch docked. I play it, I have a Switch Lite, so I play it portable, and a lot of the graphical issues were happening to people who play it in docked mode. And so I didn't get a lot of that, so I didn't have any negative effects like really drawing back the game or anything. I had one graphical glitch the entire time that I played it, and I probably put in about 80 hours into that game. Obviously, we talked about it this entire podcast. I loved this game. The fact that they were able to do so much in the story department for this one really brought it up for me. So
To expand upon that a little bit, I completely see why this could land at a number 3. In a year that wasn't so stacked with some incredible titles, it very easily could have for me as well. But I've got obviously some other things coming up that I'm very excited for. And then just the graphical issues that I hit. I had a couple crashes. I clipped the ground and fell through the world a couple of times. It was just getting to a point where it was too much. The stuttering around the lake, and I have my qualms with the game, but overall I'm very excited to see where Pokemon goes. So I've got no issues with it being placed in a 3rd spot here.
well, you're next. Go ahead.
Oh, I am next. Oh, that's right. Sorry. Number 3, I'm also going with good old game that's landed on both of our, every single one of our lists so far, Power Wash Simulator.
Solid choice.
It's so good. This is zen. It's just pure zen, unadulterated. You pop this on, you can put on, if you want to put on music or a video or anything you want in the background, and just go. And the sound design of the pings whenever you complete different objects, or being able to actually watch the replay of everything getting cleaned in a super fast, quick 10-second video, it's just built perfectly. I really loved Power Wash Simulator.
My number 3 spot goes to a game that I'm fairly certain neither of you played. It is called Total War Warhammer 3. It released early this year, and then in August of this year they released a new game mode called Immortal Empires, which brings in all the factions that you could play as in the previous 2 games in the series. So as of August 2022, every Total War Warhammer race and character is now playable in Total War Warhammer 3, all together on this giant battle map. Just so much fun. I love tactical strategy games. I'm a big Civilization fan and just a fan of the Total War series, so this game scratched a lot of itches for me. If it didn't have a lot of the bugs and slow response time from developers early on in the development process, it would have been higher. But even with that, it's still at number 3 for me.
Hell yeah. See, I don't know a whole lot about the Warhammer franchise, but seeing you get so excited for the new Warhammer 40k that's set to come out, and then this Total War, it's got me interested, I will say.
Look, if you have a spare 48 to 72 hours, I'd love to go over it in detail with you.
So my number 2 is probably no shock to anyone at this point. The surprises were everything 3 through 10 probably. My number 2 is going to be Tunic. Tunic had the single best puzzle I've ever solved in a video game ever. That deserves a lot of merit, especially because this is a single player game. And how much I've been gushing about playing games with my friends. The fact that this stands above all but one game this year should just speak for itself how good this game is. One of my friends started playing it, and he's sitting here going through it, trying to learn it, and I'm like, yep, I've been there. And I'm able to give him like a little hint and a little nudge here, and it's such an enjoyable experience. I'm having secondhand fun through this game. That's very rare for a game.
I'll go ahead and jump in with my number 2 off of that. One thing most people probably know about me who's ever had a chance to sit down and talk with me for more than 5 minutes. Pokemon has been one of my favorite games since childhood. It's been with me through high and low. I've made so many of my friends through Pokemon. Pokemon Legends Arceus made me feel like a kid again. Going through and playing, exploring the world in this fully 3D aspect. You know, it lacks the open world, but what it makes up for in that is just the sheer sense of exploration as you're going out into these little areas, encountering these Pokemon. It's so much fun. The shiny mechanic makes the game so interesting and easy to continue playing long after you've beaten it. I just had so much joy tied to Legends Arceus. I'm so excited to see if we get more Legends games in the future, or even if this is just a one-off. I love Game Freak for giving us this, and that's why Pokemon Legends Arceus is my number 2 for this year.
Great. I completely understand and agree with that placement. Fantastic game. My number 2 spot is going to go to another game that I'm pretty certain neither of you have played, and might not even have heard of. It's called Marvel's Midnight Suns. It came out in December of this year. It is basically a combination of XCOM and Hearthstone with Marvel characters.
The people who did XCOM did make this.
Yeah, it's the same people that made XCOM. It is such a fun game tactically. It's also a hub game where you have like a central area where you come back to between missions and can interact and have, honestly, a staggering amount of dialogue with a bunch of the heroes and characters that you interact with. The main character is voiced by Matthew Mercer.
Nice.
And one of the best side characters is voiced by Laura Bailey, so the Critical Role fan inside of me was very happy playing this game. I also kind of got Mass Effect vibes in that the conversations and relationships you can build with each of the characters in between missions, which, for those of you who don't know, is my favorite game series of all time, Mass Effect. So it just hit almost all of the boxes that you need to hit for me to like a game. Plus, any game where I can give my character a beard is a good game in my book, and I was able to do that in this one.
Hell yeah, dude! I'm so excited to see like a game I haven't heard of on the list. It just makes me want to go check it out.
Oh,
You should.
really?
I hadn't heard about this at all. Midnight Suns.
Midnight Suns.
I heard about it like a little bit before, whenever it came out, and then Matthew Mercer either tweeted or posted on Instagram about it. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is really cool. I'll have to check it out if I get money. But instead I ended up buying the Evil West game that I've enjoyed so much. I was tempted to buy this one. And now comes my number one. I'm sure this is of no shock to anyone. I literally spent, 45 minutes spouting fucking lore in the podcast for this. It's Elden Ring. Elden Ring is such a fantastic game. It won Game of the Year. And just my first playthrough of it, I fell in love with the world already. Then my second playthrough, I went and found all the hidden things and slowly delved more into the lore, and then just being able to go through with my friend Liam. We finally got done with our playthrough last month after playing it for forever, because he's super busy, especially because he has a kid on the way. But just going through this game with a friend, having all those super funny moments where one of us just gets completely creamed right after we get summoned. I've had so much fun with this game. I spent 667 hours on Xbox this year. 307 of those hours were on Elden Ring.
Oh man, I can't. I'm not surprised. You've spoken highly of this game far before it was even out, and then after it came out, it was everything that I imagine you could have wanted from it. I'm so happy to see.
I was so worried, because normally whenever FromSoft announces, well, actually just games in general, especially for someone that hits out of the park as frequently as FromSoft has in their Souls series, everyone's expecting a flop, and everyone thought this was going to be the flop, and I'm just so happy it wasn't. This is, I forgot to mention, this is my favorite game of all time now. It has finally beaten Sekiro simply because of the multiplayer aspect of it.
Hell yeah. I'm not even going to beat around the bush. My number one of the year was Tunic. If anyone listened to the podcast where we talk about Tunic, since I beat this game, it has not left my brain. There's not been a day that's gone by without me thinking about this little fox running around and exploring this world. It is everything that I love about the Legend of Zelda franchise, with this really improved combat, that it's made the game difficult but not exceptionally so. You just have this massive world to explore and mysteries around every corner to uncover, and the fact that so much of it is built around the in-game manual, which you just can find pieces of. It's just remarkable. Everything to do with the golden path and the final puzzle of the game. So good. So good. So good. I just adore this little fox game and everything about it. This game was truly built for me, I feel like. And that is why it is my number one game of this year. And currently of all time.
Wow. Everyone found their favorite game of all time this year except for me.
Oh no.
That's fine. I already have the best game of all time in Mass Effect, so don't worry about it. My number one game of this year, though, was God of War Ragnarok. I truly don't have the words to describe the epic story of this game. Probably one of the top video game stories I've ever played through. The combat itself was also stellar. If you played the original God of War, it's that combat, but more and better. They didn't just rest on their laurels from the first game. They improved all of the mechanics, did a lot of quality of life stuff without making it unfamiliar to come back to. There were a lot of really interesting new characters. You got to play, slight spoilers, you get to play as Atreus a little bit, as the boy, not just as Kratos. So you kind of get even more fun combat stuff by just having a slightly different kind of mechanics. And you get to see just this whole cathartic coming-of-age story with Atreus and Kratos' whole coming to terms with who he is and who he will be in the future as he interacts with this world. It is phenomenal. This characterization of Thor and Odin as characters is probably my favorite portrayal of those characters in anything I've ever seen. So
Even the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
even the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's
Oh,
not
shit.
even close.
Little surprise for you here. I went through and played the original God of War, not the original, but the 2018 God of War recently, because I was so interested in playing Ragnarok itself as it was coming out. Beat that fairly recently. As of last week, we have picked up God of War Ragnarok, and I think I'm about 10 hours into the game currently. I am absolutely loving it, and I agree with you on every single point so far. It's just been freaking fantastic every step of the way. Odin and Thor, so cool. Not a crazy big spoiler because it's at the very end of
It's one of the
God
very
of
first
War,
scenes.
in 2018. You get into a fight with Thor, and the result of that fight ends with this permanent landmark being built into the world. And every time you go into Midgard, you can see it, and it's so cool to just see that. I geek out every time, as it's like just this massive feature on the map. It's fantastic. The only reason it's not on my top 10 list is because I haven't given it its fair time in the limelight yet. I haven't beaten the game yet, so I can't really speak to all of its credits or discredits. So I wanted to give it a full fair shout before I even ranked it. But it probably would have ended up in my top 10.
I will say, you said you've gotten 10 hours into it?
Yeah. Currently in Alfheim, if that gives you any kind of reference.
Yeah. The scene where you first meet Thor and Odin, that's in like the first 10 minutes of that game, that was some of the best voice acting and I guess character model acting.
It was
I don't know,
so
like
cool.
The expressions and the dialogue was out of a critically acclaimed movie. Like that level of acting, it was incredible.
Instantly, the tension from the second he steps into your house, it just keeps rising and building, and you feel like everything's going to come crashing down. And when something inevitably happens, ooh boy, is it cathartic.
Yeah.
Great game.
So that's all of our top 10 lists individually.
So, after much conversation, a little bit of hair pulling, and definitely me punching Brady's teeth out for not including Elden Ring in his top 10 at all, we've come down to the top 5 games collectively for the Joystick Frequency. Brady, if you would like to start.
Coming in at number 5 is God of War Ragnarok. I was the only one that had it on my list, but that's because I'm the only one that's actually finished the game.
It would have absolutely been on my list had I actually finished it. Currently, only being 10 hours into it, it's still pretty high up overall.
If my roommate didn't steal my copy of God of War 2018, I would have already beaten that one and would have started Ragnarok by now.
Yeah, so we think it's fair to put it at number 5, even though it was only on my list.
At number 4, we got Power Wash Simulator, the pure zen experience of popping on some music and cleaning some surface tiles or anything in between. It was just so satisfying. It had to end on our list somewhere, and we chose number 4.
This is probably the one I think no one probably saw coming, except for us, really.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Elden Ring. Like I said, I put 307 hours into this game, and that's almost half my time of playing Xbox this year, and I enjoyed every bit of it. There are some crazy bosses, there are a bunch of get good moments, but most of all, there is the path to the Erd Tree.
It's a cool game. It's hard to deny that. And the fact that there's been over 300 hours put into it on just one of our accounts should speak volumes.
I hated the game, and I'm still happy with it being at number 3, so that should also tell you quite a bit. Sorry, let me correct that. I hated the process of playing the game. The game itself, I have a lot of respect for. Just not if I'm the one playing it. I can admit it's a good game that I cannot play and do not like playing. It's like admiring someone like Leonardo da Vinci. I can absolutely see that is a masterpiece of painting, and I have no way of interacting with it at all. That's kind of how I view Elden Ring. Coming in at number 2 is Pokemon Legends of Arceus.
It's also Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
We love Pokemon as a franchise just in general, and with 2 stellar additions to the Pokemon franchise coming out in the same year, you had to include them, had to put them at number 2.
Game Freak spoiled us.
Yeah. Game Freak absolutely delivered this year.
And at number 1, with surprisingly very little deliberation about it, Tunic takes our number 1 spot We've consulted our in-game manuals. We've donated tons of coins to the well, and we've decided this is the best game that this year has had to offer, at least collectively in our books, with a very tough race with everything else that was on this list today. If you have not had a chance to go play this game about a cute little fox washing up on a beach, but also so much more than that, please take the time and play this game.
We've parried the bosses and we've followed the golden path, and we've reached the conclusion that Tunic is indeed the number one.
Yeah, and it should be said that in a year where there is a new God of War Ragnarok, a new FromSoft game in Elden Ring, and 2 AAA Pokemon releases, this little indie game about a fox is at our number one. That should say a lot about the quality of this game.
Please go play Tunic, guys. It's so good, and it's cute.
I don't think there's much more we can say after that. So, thank you for tuning into the Joystick Frequency. I'm Trent.
I'm Walker.
I'm Brady.
And thank you all for tuning in. Catch you in on the next wavelength. Have a nice night.
Bye.
Bye.